But when we're talking about mental health, it gets a little bit more gray. So trying to notice, are these things that I'm experiencing actually impacting my functioning? Because that's the line I always look at for anybody. If you meet medical necessity, you should go to therapy. If you don't meet medical necessity, do your own work. Do the personal development, do the meditation, do the journaling, and that maybe will be a part of therapy too. But for me, that's the line. Is it impacting your functioning? Yes, therapy. Is it not impacting your functioning? No. Let's make sure it doesn't.
Welcome to Mind My Age, presented by Total Life, therapy focused on healthier aging and covered by Medicare. I'm your host, Neelam Brar, and today we have a very special guest, Jessica Brubaker, a licensed professional counselor and national certified counselor. Jessica has over a decade of experience in mental health, supporting individuals through life's toughest challenges. She is an expert in trauma focused care, anxiety, and self care practices, and we'll be discussing how these areas can improve your mental health as you age. Jessica, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. So, for our listeners who are dealing with possibly chronic pain, chronic headaches, multiple chronic diseases, what's your advice on identifying it and actioning the routine that can help reduce the stress and side effects?
I think that largely depends on what their experience is of that chronic pain or chronic disease. I think the answers will differ slightly because of that. But the first thing that I always like to tell people is you know your body, you live in your body. Doctors are wonderful humans. They're very well educated. They are, they know what they're doing, right? But you know what the lived experience is like. And so if they're telling you something that doesn't feel right, it's okay to advocate for yourself. And it doesn't mean that you have to say, "Excuse me, doctor, I refuse to do what you're telling me." But it's okay to say, "Hey, doctor, that doesn't feel right. Like, this is how I'm experiencing it," trying to help them understand. Sometimes that doesn't go as well as I'm acting like it could, but I think that that's the first thing is really advocating for yourself because you live in your body and you're the one that has that experience. The other thing I think is our physical symptoms are telling us something. So even the example I used where like if I get a headache, I would say, "Oh my God, is this the headache?" And it wasn't, but it was telling me you're dehydrated. It was telling me there's a little bit of stress happening. It was telling me maybe you should work on your posture. It was telling me, oh, it's time to get a new glasses prescription, right? So these things that are happening to our body, they exist to send us a message to like, hey, it's time to pay attention to that. And so I also don't mean go to the doctor every 5 minutes, but noticing what's happening with your body and being in tune with your body, I think is one of the best things people can do for themselves at any age, honestly.
You've helped so many people navigate emotional challenges at many stages of their life. What are some of the key lessons for our listeners about the importance of mental health support, especially as we age?
I think that the key message is determining where it is important to reach out. And I think in the medical community, and especially with insurance as it is, there's this idea of medical necessity, which makes a lot of sense for people when we're talking about physical ailments. You break your leg, obviously you meet medical necessity, go to the doctor, they're going to cast you, right? But when we're talking about mental health, it gets a little bit more gray. So trying to notice, are these things that I'm experiencing actually impacting my functioning? Because that's the line I always look at for anybody. If you meet medical necessity, you should go to therapy. If you don't meet medical necessity, do your own work, do the personal development, do the meditation, do the journaling, and that maybe will be a part of therapy too. But for me, that's the line. Is it impacting your functioning? Yes, therapy. Is it not impacting your functioning? No. Let's make sure it doesn't.
You mentioned like self care is a responsibility, not a luxury. What's one way older adults can start prioritizing that today? Like, what are the five things they should do every day that embodies your statement?
So I'm going to take this from dialectical behavior therapy, actually, which is it's a treatment that's actually pretty common for people who have intense emotions, oftentimes a lot of suicidality, self-harm behaviors, kind of a thing. But it's called the please skill, and I'm pretty sure it's five. So I think this is going to work really well. Taking care of it's an acronym. PL are the same thing. I have opinions about it, but we're just going to leave it. Taking care of your physical illness. So, taking your medication as prescribed when you're supposed to, taking supplements, taking care of those things. If you're sick, seek care or rest or, whatever it is, taking care of your physical illness, um, balanced eating, avoid mood altering substances, sleep, and balanced exercise.
Jessica, why is self-care not selfish? Can you explain how taking time for ourselves actually benefits the others in the home?
For that reason, where I said I'm going to put the oxygen mask on when I get on the plane, because if I take the time to take care of myself first, I'm more available for the people that I'm trying to take care of. And what happens, I think, when you ignore your own needs, blanket statement needs, is when you're interacting in your other relationships, because you're not taken care of, you react a little bit more easily, you react a little bit more intensely. Sometimes you build resentment to the people that you really care about because all of your energy is going to them and none of it is going to you. And what is hard about that, especially with like your kids or your grandkids, is that sometimes their energy is not going back to you for whatever reason. So now you're giving away all of your energy. You're not giving any of it to yourself, and they're not giving it to you either for whatever reason.
That makes a ton of sense. What are some of the most surprising benefits of self-care that people often overlook when you work with your clients?
The thing that people say to me the most, this is a not very tangible example, but I just feel lighter. So we talked a little bit earlier about our experiences live in our body. Trauma and intense emotions, it gets stored in your muscles. It gets stored in certain parts of your body. But when you start to really meet your own needs, you start to teach yourself that you are worth meeting your own needs, and the body sensations kind of start to lift, and you don't even realize that you felt heavy until you feel light.
That's so interesting because it can sometimes feel like there's a million other things that are more important than the yoga class. And I'm really good
Totally.
at talking myself out of
Yeah.
anything that's gym oriented.
I like to look at it like there's a lot of other things that feel more urgent. And so when you look at those items and you say, is that actually urgent? Does that person need me immediately? Because most of the time they don't. Most of the time you can take the yoga class and then go do the thing with or for the person, right? And that also gives you permission. If you're a caregiver like I am, it gives you permission to say, oh, this is urgent. It's okay to set myself aside for a second for this person that I love, but once the urgency is gone, I'm going to go back to me.
That makes a lot of sense. What are the top three ways self care can actually transform your emotional well being in addition to the physical improvements you see?
I think that it allows you to feel more joy. I think that it allows you to feel more like satisfaction with your life. And I think that it helps you to feel worth someone's energy. Not everybody uses this word specifically to describe, those unpleasant emotional feelings, but oftentimes it really comes down to feeling less than. All of this other stuff, trickles in, but really when you get down to that core belief, it's because I'm not as important as them, or I'm less than them, or I failed it this way. And I think that's especially true as you get older and older and older, is that you look back on your life and you're like, oh, I wish I had done this. I wish I had been that. And so when you take the time to focus on your relationship with yourself, again, the message you send from you to you is that you're worth somebody's energy. And when you don't focus on that, the message that you send to you from you to you is that you're not even worth your own energy, which is not true.
So, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing
Totally.
your invaluable insights into mental and emotional health at every stage of life. You have so much expertise and wisdom and experience in this space. So we really value your insights. For our listeners, if you need help navigating the challenges we discussed today, reach out to Total Life. Our expert therapists are available to support you, and the services are covered by Medicare. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more episodes that dive into the science of healthier aging.